So think about those jobs that just carry a real weight.
Yeah.
The kind where the stakes feel constantly high. Maybe you're a doctor making critical calls, a lawyer in these complex battles, an entrepreneur pouring everything in.
Or finance, that high-speed world.
Exactly. Potential rewards are definitely there. We know that.
Okay.
But there's often this significant unseen mental cost involved.
That's a really crucial point, the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about the long hours, is it? That sustained mental pressure. It almost becomes this hidden part of the job description.
Totally. And that's precisely what we're digging into today. We want to go beyond just saying, oh, it's stressful, and really get into the specific mental health challenges that tag along with these high-pressure roles.
Yeah.
And maybe more importantly, pull out some really practical, useful strategies for actually looking after your mental well-being, even when you're operating at that level.
And we've got some good material to work with here. We've been looking at mental wellness in high-pressure careers, specifically episode 80 of Lifelines by Supreme Medic, hosted by Dr. Sartal Ram-Vishnoi.
Right.
And also his article with the same title from the Your Health Deserves a Lifeline series.
Yeah.
Both give a really thoughtful, kind of hands-on look at this. It's vital stuff.
Okay, so let's get right into it then. Why exactly do these high-pressure jobs take such a toll? It feels like more than just being busy, there's something deeper going on.
Oh, absolutely. It's really a combination of things that create this sustained state of mental strain. Think about just the relentless demands first.
Okay.
Constant deadlines, the sheer volume of work that feels like it never ends.
Yeah.
That feeling of always needing to be on, hyper alert.
Yeah, that always-on feeling.
Then you add the long hours, often unpredictable hours, which really mess with that crucial work-life balance. You just don't get the chance to properly recover.
Right, limits recovery time.
And finally, those expectations. Sometimes they're external, sometimes they're your own internal drive, but they're often sky high.
Yeah.
It creates this constant pressure to perform perfectly, especially when, the consequences of mistakes feel really significant.
Right. And looking at the sources, we see some pretty common mental health challenges popping up again and again. It's not just like general worry. We're talking significant anxiety that can really take hold.
Precisely. That constant pressure we just talked about,
Yeah.
it can easily manifest as chronic anxiety, like a persistent state of worry that's just hard to shake. And that intense focus on hitting targets, avoiding errors. For some people, it can even escalate into acute episodes like panic attacks. It's basically the body's extreme reaction to feeling totally overwhelmed and under threat.
Then there's that feeling of just being completely depleted, burnout. The sources talk about it as this mix of emotional and physical exhaustion.
Yeah.
Plus feeling disconnected, unmotivated. Sounds like your internal battery just gets totally drained.
Think of it like constantly withdrawing from an account but never putting anything back in. Eventually, you just run dry, right?
Yeah.
That continuous output of energy, mental and emotional, without enough real rest and recovery, it leads straight to that feeling of emptiness. You lose enthusiasm, even for parts of the job you might have once really enjoyed.
And another one that feels really relevant, especially in these high-achieving fields, is imposter syndrome.
Oh, definitely.
That nagging feeling, even when you know you're qualified, you've got the track record, but you still feel like a fraud who's about to be found out. The high stakes must just amplify that.
Absolutely. The bigger the perceived consequences of messing up, the stronger that feeling of inadequacy can get. And being around other super high achievers, well, that can fuel it too through constant comparison. You end up focusing only on your own flaws, minimizing your successes in a really self-defeating loop.
And sadly, all this sustained pressure, it can push towards more serious conditions like depression, characterized by that deep, persistent hopelessness, sadness, maybe even feeling emotionally numb.
Yeah.
But the sources are really clear. This isn't about some personal failing. It's presented as a very natural human response to being under that kind of intense, prolonged stress.
That is such a vital point to stress. Experiencing these struggles isn't a sign of weakness or that you're not resilient enough.
Right.
It's a normal physiological and psychological reaction to chronic overload. Just recognizing that is a huge first step. It helps remove that layer of self-blame, and it opens the door to actually getting help and using strategies that work.
Okay, now, when you're so deep in these demanding jobs, it can be really hard to step back and even notice you might be struggling. You're just so focused on the next deadline, the next target. What are some of the key warning signs the sources mentioned? Things we should maybe try to be more aware of in ourselves or even our colleagues?
You're right. It's easy to just normalize high stress when everyone around you seems to be running at the same crazy pace. But there are definite indicators. Physically, pay attention to things like persistent headaches that don't have an obvious cause.
Okay.
Or unexplained muscle tension, often in the neck and shoulders. That persistent fatigue, even when you think you're sleeping enough. And even digestive issues stress really impacts the gut.
Those are the kinds of things you could easily brush off, right? Just, oh, I'm busy or didn't sleep well.
Exactly. But then look cognitively. You might start noticing it's harder to focus than usual, finding it tougher to make decisions that used to feel simple, or struggling with memory, like retaining details. Those are signs your mental reserves are getting low, that stress is impairing function.
And emotionally, the sources flag things like being more irritable,
Yeah.
maybe snapping more easily.
Yes, increased irritability is a big one. Or unexpected mood swings that feel kind of out of your control. A pervasive feeling of dread, maybe specifically about work. Or even just pulling back, withdrawing from friends, family, social stuff.
Yeah, and changes in sleep patterns seem like a major red flag, too.
Huge.
Yeah.
Difficulty falling asleep even when you're exhausted. Waking up a lot during the night. Or waking up feeling totally unrefreshed, even after what should be enough sleep.
Right.
Those can be direct results of stress and anxiety messing with your body's natural rhythms.
And behaviorally, the sources mention things like maybe actively avoiding work tasks you need doing.
Yes, procrastination on important stuff.
Yeah.
Or even finding yourself relying more on coping mechanisms that maybe aren't the healthiest in the long run. That avoidance pattern can be a strong sign something deeper is going on.
It really drives home how important early recognition is. If you can spot these shifts early, you've got a much better shot at doing something about it before things get really serious.
Absolutely. Early recognition is key. It allows you to be proactive, to put coping strategies in place before the stress becomes really chronic and, more deeply embedded.
Okay, so we've got a clearer picture of the challenges, the warning signs. Now let's shift to what we can actually do about it. The sources offer a lot of really practical advice for, nurturing mental well-being in these fields. Let's start with the foundation. Self-care. It sounds almost basic sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's often the very first thing to go out the window when the pressure's on.
It might sound simple, but as Dr. Vishnoi really emphasizes, consistent self-care is genuinely the bedrock.
Yeah.
Especially in high-stress jobs.
Right.
This means the essentials that often get sidelined. Really prioritizing enough sleep, making sure you're fueling your body well with good food, getting regular exercise, and consciously making time for things that help you relax and recharge. When those basic needs are met, you just build a stronger foundation to handle the stress. And the sources point out, even scheduling tiny breaks like 5 or 10 minutes for deep breathing or just stepping away from your desk, those can be really significant micro-recoveries.
I really like that phrasing, actively scheduling self-care breaks. It makes it feel less like an optional extra and more like a non-negotiable part of the day, like a meeting.
Exactly.
Another key strategy the sources really stress is setting clear boundaries, which can be incredibly tough, especially if the work culture is all about being constantly available.
Oh, it's a constant battle for sure. But the sources really hammer home the need to establish and maintain a clear separation between work and personal life. That constant connectivity, the expectation you're always checking email, responding outside of hours, it fundamentally stops you from truly switching off and recovering. So consciously setting a daily cutoff time for work stuff and really disconnecting from devices, that can be incredibly protective for your personal time and mental space.
Mindfulness comes up a lot too. It's obviously a popular idea, but how does it specifically help in these really high-pressure situations?
Well, mindfulness practices, whether it's, formal meditation or focused deep breathing or just really paying attention during everyday things like walking, they help you break that cycle of constantly worrying about the past or stressing about the future.
Yeah, getting out of your head.
Exactly. By training your attention on the present moment, you can really dial down those feelings of overwhelm. You can cultivate more calm and clarity, even when everything around you feels chaotic. And even just a few minutes each day can make a noticeable difference over time.
And naturally, the sources strongly recommend seeking professional support when you need it. This could be talking to a therapist, a counselor, maybe even a coach who specializes in working with people in these demanding fields.
Absolutely. Having that objective external perspective can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Mental health professionals are trained to give you specific tools, strategies, insights tailored to your challenges. And the sources also remind us about employee assistance programs, EAPs.
Oh, right, EAPs. Often underused.
Very often. Many companies offer them, providing confidential access to counseling and support. It's so crucial to reframe asking for help, not as admitting failure, but as a really proactive step towards building resilience and well-being.
So managing stress effectively,
Yeah.
it isn't about eliminating stress because that's often just not realistic in these roles, right?
Right, exactly.
It's more about developing healthier ways to respond to it. The sources suggest things like regular exercise, mindfulness like we just discussed, even journaling to process thoughts and feelings.
Physical activity especially gets highlighted for its powerful mood-boosting effects. The endorphin release. Whether it's yoga, a brisk walk at lunch, running, swimming, whatever works for you, finding movement you enjoy and making it regular can be a remarkably effective stress buster.
Okay, this next one can be particularly tough for high achievers who often like being in control, taking charge, learning to delegate effectively, and actually asking for help when you need it. The sources point out that trying to do absolutely everything yourself is just a fast track to more pressure and burnout.
It's about honestly looking at your capacity and then developing trust in your team or colleagues.
Right. Trust is key.
Delegating tasks not only lightens your load, freeing you up for the really key stuff, but it also empowers others, builds collaboration. Learning to recognize when you're hitting your limit and then having the confidence to ask for support. That's a vital skill for long-term survival and well-being in these jobs. Prevents overload.
I also really appreciated the focus in the sources on actively cultivating a more positive mindset, things like gratitude practices, positive thinking. It's so easy to get stuck focusing only on the problems when the stakes are always high.
Yeah, shifting your focus deliberately towards what you're grateful for, even small things, can be a powerful counter to those negative thought spirals. Keeping a gratitude journal, like the sources suggest, just jotting down maybe 3 things each day you're thankful for. It's simple, but really effective for cultivating a more balanced view. It helps buffer against that negativity bias that stress tends to feed.
There's a really practical bit of advice in the article that jumped out at me. Schedule mental health like a meeting.
Huh. Yeah, I like that too.
I think just that simple rephrasing really hammers home the importance of treating self-care, well-being activities as non-negotiable appointments, just as critical as any work commitment on your calendar.
It's a great analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really reinforces that your mental well-being deserves dedicated time and focus, just like anything else critical to your job.
Yeah.
By actually blocking out that time, you're signaling to yourself, and maybe to others too, that this stuff is a priority, not just an afterthought you squeeze in if you happen to have a spare moment.
And I thought the idea of micro-recovery daily was really interesting too. These super short, like 2 to 5 minute pauses you intentionally sprinkle throughout the day. Things like a few deep breaths between calls, a quick walk around the block, stretching at your desk, listening to one song, even just stepping outside for a minute, like little resets for your nervous system.
Exactly. These brief moments of intentional pause might seem tiny on their own, but added up through the day. The cumulative effect can be huge of regulating your stress response, preventing that tension buildup. It's about creating small pockets of calm inside the usual chaos of high-pressure work.
The sources also make a really important point about destigmatizing asking for support, especially in these high-performing cultures where sometimes there's still this vibe that needing help means you're weak or can't cope.
Yeah, reframing seeking support as a sign of strength, of self-awareness, of commitment to your long-term well-being. That's absolutely crucial.
Right.
It shows you're being proactive about managing challenges, and ultimately, that enhances your resilience, your effectiveness. High performers especially can really benefit from having a safe, confidential space to process the unique pressures they face without worrying about judgment or career blowback.
And obviously, we can't ignore the basics, the link between physical and mental health. Fueling your body and brain properly.
Fundamental.
Staying hydrated, eating nutrient-dense food, prioritizing good sleep. It all plays a huge role in how well you manage stress and maintain well-being. The sources specifically mention being mindful of those caffeine and sugar cycles.
Oh yeah, the roller coaster.
Which can lead to energy crashes, mood swings.
Definitely. Keeping your energy levels stable by being conscious about what you eat and drink, avoiding those big highs and lows from too much caffeine or sugar, that can significantly help with emotional regulation. And consistent, sufficient sleep. Absolutely non-negotiable for sharp thinking, emotional resilience, and just your body's ability to cope with stress effectively.
Lastly, the sources talk about the importance of having anchors outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
These are the relationships, hobbies, maybe connecting with nature, spiritual practices, things that give you meaning and fulfillment beyond your job title and performance reviews.
These external anchors are critical protective factors. They remind you who you are outside of work, what your values are.
Right.
They provide that vital sense of balance, stop your entire self-worth from being wrapped up solely in work metrics. These connections offer support, joy, a different perspective, which can be incredibly restorative when work pressures are high.
Now, we've focused a lot on what we can do as individuals, but the sources also touch on the really significant role the work environment itself plays, in fostering better mental health in these careers. What kind of changes can happen on a broader level?
Yeah, creating a genuinely supportive work environment, that's really a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
It needs commitment from both employers and employees.
Okay.
For employers, it means actively building a culture where it's okay to talk about mental health openly, without stigma, prioritizing mental health resources just as much as physical health benefits, offering flexibility where possible, to help with work-life integration, and proactively creating chances for people to connect socially and de-stress at work.
And for employees, the sources encourage feeling empowered to actually speak up if you're struggling.
Yes, reaching out to HR or maybe a trusted colleague, feeling comfortable discussing potential adjustments or accommodations that might help you manage your workload or stress. It really needs that cultural shift where prioritizing well-being isn't just acceptable, it's actually encouraged.
It sounds like it needs to be about empathy, understanding, mutual support.
Exactly. A culture where people feel safe to admit they're facing challenges and ask for help without fearing negative consequences for their career.
There's a really important point made in the material, too, about recognizing when the stress level and its impact on your mental health might mean you need to seriously reassess things, like maybe make bigger changes. What are some of those critical warning signs that suggest it might be time for a more fundamental rethink?
The sources highlight several key indicators you really shouldn't ignore, like a persistent feeling of intense irritability or maybe emotional numbness that just goes on and on. A consistent, overwhelming dread of work that spills into your weekends, your personal time. Recurring physical symptoms, debilitating headaches, chronic stomach issues that seem clearly linked to work stress. Noticing you're withdrawing from people close to you from social activities. And a significant loss of interest in hobbies, things you used to genuinely enjoy.
So these aren't just temporary bad patches.
No, exactly. These are serious signals that your well-being is significantly compromised. And it might mean a more substantial change is needed, maybe adjusting your role, seeking more intensive help, perhaps even considering a different work environment altogether. And again, it's so important to see these signals as prompts for taking action for your health, not as signs of weakness or failure.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, the core message really seems to be this. Mental health in these high-pressure jobs. It isn't some secondary thing. It's absolutely fundamental. Fundamental to your well-being, yes, but also to your long-term success in that role. It needs conscious attention, proactive strategies, and frankly, a willingness to prioritize your mental and emotional needs.
Precisely. Your mental well-being isn't separate from your ability to perform well and keep going in these demanding roles. It's intrinsically linked. By consistently taking those small, manageable steps, self-care, boundaries, seeking support when needed, you can make a massive difference in managing stress and really improving your overall quality of life, both inside and outside of that demanding career.
And on that note, I think that quote from Dr. Vishnoi really just nails it. You are not a machine. You are a human being.
Yeah.
Even in high-stakes roles, you deserve peace of mind, quality of life, and room to breathe. It's such a crucial reminder, isn't it, to extend that basic human compassion to ourselves, especially when the pressure feels completely overwhelming. Definitely something important to take away and think about.